associations. It's a very interesting field in that every day something new can happen. The other added benefit is you never know who's going to stop by the office and what new challenge or obstacle you're going to learn about and how you can help people overcome that. My career in association started approximately 11 years ago. I was working online for a mortgage and housing real estate website, not too exciting, when a friend of mine shared with me that there was a job with the Ohio Restaurant Association being the communications director, and I had no idea what that meant. I had been in public relations and communications prior to that in the for-profit world, but had never worked in nonprofit. And that is actually when I first met Jeff. The company with whom he used to work, TCS Software, was our platform provider for all of our online needs. So we've been friends for many years, and it's been a great opportunity to work with him in his previous role and now in this role. So thank you for having me today. First of all, before we get started, I would like to ask you a question. When you think of firefighters, engineers, dental hygienists, food service professionals, and truck drivers, can you think of one thing that connects all of them? Believe it or not, each and every one of these professions has an association that helps them build connections among their peers, helps them seek credentials that further their professional development, and also helps them get access to exclusive resources that benefit their careers. Believe it or not, every day in every city, town, and neighborhood in Ohio, the impact associations play is witnessed by the communities they serve. Associations make Ohio a better place to live, work, and play. The association professionals like myself and other directors touch Ohioans' lives in countless ways. Whether as employees, members, volunteers, or donors, at the heart of our community, we help people. We help researchers, communicators, mentors, and innovators make connections with the communities they serve. In fact, people look to associations to keep them informed, educated, and to serve as a source of best-in-class standards and professionalism in their own offices and in our state's workforce. Many people don't realize associations fulfill roles that would require the government to do more. So even though taxes are high, we help keep them lower by the services associations provide. And to be honest with you, when people ask me what I do for a living, a lot of them think it's made up. Telling people you run an association that serves associations sounds pretty unbelievable. But when you tell people my association works to educate the associations you belong to so they can serve you better, they actually believe me. And for the last 83 years, OSAE has served this purpose in Ohio. Our job is to make our members smarter when they serve their members. That's really all we do. So why should you join an association? The reasons are vast and they vary immensely. For some people, it's to create a network of peers they can rely on in times of uncertainty. Believe me, during the COVID-19 epidemic, my peers and I have been talking and relying upon each other like never before. It's good to have a strong, educated network of trusted advisors upon whom you can rely. Another reason people join associations, and what we're going to talk about today, is how you can further your career through networking connections, how you can assist yourself in gaining industry credentials, and lastly, to gain exclusive access to career resources. This can be discounts on a host of things, like car rentals, cell phone plans, or links to professionals in other fields that help you grow. It also introduces you to a pool of clients or colleagues you may not have been able to meet with because they worked outside of your industry. When it comes to creating networking connections, there are few organizations that deliver as well as associations do. Mr. Fuller can attest to this, I'm sure. In fact, the reason I'm speaking to you today is he and I know each other through the associations I oversee. His job as a website and digital designer, and mine as OSAE's president, brought us together on many projects over the years. This is true for many people. Everyone in the association world is approximately 3 degrees of separation from someone else, if it is in fact that large. This translates to a great networking system for people to connect and grow through shared experiences. This is why 1 in 4 Americans belong to an association at some point during their career. In fact, it's great to be able to reach out through your web of peers and get answers to questions or challenges that you may be facing without having to worry about them competing for your business. The nonprofit world is much different than the for-profit world, as we share what we learn and don't consider it intellectual property. We want to see each other's organizations grow. When you consider that the average American in today's workforce has 13 jobs over the span of their employment career, the value associations provide only becomes more apparent. This is much different than the network that your parents had or your grandparents had, when the average person had 4 or maybe 2 careers their entire lifetime. Think about a job maybe that you've held already, something part-time after school. Maybe you dislike that job. Chances are you have to muddle through and just make do, because part-time jobs aren't always that much fun. Once you graduate and start working 40 or more hours a week, though, you don't want that to be the reality you face every day, especially when you consider that the length of most careers now is 35 to 40 years. It seems to only be getting longer. I guess that's because our lives are getting longer, but that also means we're working more. Associations and the connections you build will help you find new roles as your career changes. In fact, I started in the association world in 2010, 11 years ago. To you guys, that's probably a lifetime, since most of you were like 6 or 7 when I started working. But once you're in the workforce, 11 years passes very quickly. I started as the director of communications for an Ohio trade association. And then I moved on to work as a chief communications officer for an association management company. And that is a whole other ballgame that we'd have to spend another day talking about. Then I came to OSAE 5 years ago. However, I got each of these new roles because of the work I did in the association industry and by volunteering to serve on boards and in networking with the right people on different committees. I went from a communications director to a CEO role in less than 7 years. This is not something you could do in the for-profit world. Nonprofit offers you many great opportunities. This is why I note on the slide that job growth is often who you know. Associations help you know a lot of people. That's not always something we like to admit, that it's who you know, but associations help you, again, get to know the right people. This slide presents. Oh,
sorry, Jared.
No,
I was just gonna interject there. That is so 100% true. Networking, right? One of the slogans around here is, you know, your network is your net worth, right? We hear that a lot around here, and it's such a powerful message, and it's so important who you know and those connections that you make, and this industry is built around that, which is fantastic.
And please, as you have questions, ask them. I have everything written down here. You can probably tell. I apologize if it sounds too canned, but please ask your questions, and Mr. Fuller will share those with me.
Yeah. Just guys, type them in the chat if you've got them, and we'll ask them as we go here. There's also going to be a short Q&A at the end of the session too. So if you think of questions as we're going, you can type those in the chat, and then we can visit them at the end, or we can do them, you know, as we're going, like we said. So again, feel free to start, you know, thinking of those questions as we're going through the presentation.
So this slide presents some basic facts you may not know. If you have friends and family members working in professional fields, there are many chances they currently belong or have belonged to an association. In fact, the association I oversee has nearly 500 members representing more than 200 different associations or businesses here in Ohio alone. In Ohio, there is up to 24,000 associations currently, according to the Secretary of State. So that can mean anything. That can be a professional trade association, a professional society, or even your local church or a local food bank. People participate in our educational and social offerings because they want to work and learn from their peers. Even if you don't work in the same industry sectors, you can likely learn from like-minded individuals who are facing similar challenges. If the last year of COVID has taught us anything, it's that we can most definitely learn from each other. Random fact, networking can lead to small achievements or even big ones. In fact, like the slide on the screen denotes, the state of Ohio was actually created on a loosely built association. In Boston in 1786, a group of men gathered in the Bunch of Grapes Tavern and decided to form the Ohio Company of Associates. And they sold off tracts of land to interested parties interested in settling the Western territory of the United States. Believe it or not, at the time, the United States ended at the Appalachian Mountains. So anything west of that was considered wild territory. Had this association not been created and Congress approved the measure, we wouldn't be in the state of Ohio right now. Part of that association's formation also included a charter which said in order to settle in the Western territory, they would have to create a university. And that is how today's Ohio University, which was founded in 1804, came to be. I share this only because it's interesting to see how associations can be responsible for many things, including the state each of us now call home. When it comes to career development, job growth, and upward mobility in your field, one of the best ways to get that is through obtaining field or industry-specific credentials. As I mentioned earlier, associations offer the largest amount of adult education than any other type of professional organization in the world. This includes colleges and universities. In fact, many colleges and universities work alongside associations to provide industry-trained professionals direct access with their students. Why? Because they know that these association professionals are knowledgeable on the areas they study, and they want to help their students build strong connections with existing professionals in whatever areas of study that interest them. There is, in fact, an association for everything. I mean that, everything. There are associations for those in agriculture, healthcare, technology, photography, food service, insurance, the list goes on and on. In fact, for every elective that DACC offers, there's an association or industry-affiliated association in that field. Pretty amazing when you consider that DACC has nearly 30 different core programs. Here are some examples of the core programs that DACC offers that correspond with some associations just here in Ohio alone. There are automotive associations, quite a few actually, construction and contractor associations, culinary and food service associations, and even more targeted associations like the Ohio Quarter Horse Association, which ties back to DACC's Equine Science program, and also the Ohio Veterinary Medical Association. These are just a few examples, but I promise you, if there's any professional field of study, there's an association representing, educating, and advocating on their behalf. If not in Ohio, most definitely in Washington, D.C. Another reason why people join associations is they are much more affordable than other forms of adult education. Coursework, even after paying annual membership dues, is much less costly than enrolling in colleges and paying for your education in the typical credit fashion. They also offer hands-off exchange of knowledge through peer networks, so learning isn't confined to what's in a book or an online course packet. You can choose to be hands-off or hands-on. It's particularly what the individual wants. Speaking of online, and Mr. Fuller can attest to this, associations offer a significant amount of their courses online and in cataloged options so that people can learn at their convenience.
Absolutely.
On average, most professional associations offer at least 75 hours of education to their members in any year. In the last year, when all education shifted online due to the pandemic, I'd be surprised if this number didn't triple for most organizations. I know it did for OSAE, and people wanted it. This means that associations are serving roles people need. In the world of Amazon behaviors, or as I like to call it, I need it when I wanted it, and I wanted it yesterday, this is very important, and it sets professional associations apart from colleges and universities. Typically, an association can find, vet, and place an educated speaker in front of members for less than $50 an hour here in Ohio. That's much cheaper and faster than it would take at a college or university, and it's much more responsive to what the person needs. I also think it's important to note that national surveys have found For every $1 a person invests in their association, they can gain up to $25 for their return on investment. So that means an annual membership of $250 can result in more than $6,000 in return on investment for any engaged member. Engaged is key. You will get out what you put in. When you consider, oh, sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, hey, I was going to interject right there. We're getting some really, really good questions in the chat. A couple of them I'm going to save here till the end, but one of them is pretty pertinent to what we just kind of talked about. Eli asked a question, would this assist with credentials applying to the fields like construction? For example, would an association help an individual attain a specific certification in a given task?
And the answer to that is no, one association won't. Ohio has about 50 that do. So yes, associations exist to meet these needs, and the credentials they offer truly are across the board. So even if it's a very niche credential you're looking for, the chances I would say are 95% that you will find an association in the state of Ohio that can offer that. The other nice thing is most associations will tell you up front before you join exactly what type of credentialing they can provide. It's most often listed on their website. So if you go out and investigate them online, you'll find that information right in front of you. Great question, Eli. And, moving on, I see we're getting somewhat close on time, and I want to make sure we have enough time for questions at the end. The average professional association, what they offer is truly the bread and butter of what they offer is career resources. This is a vast area of offerings, and it comes in many forms. For some people, they join associations because of perceived protections they provide. When Mr. Fuller and I were young, you got a AAA membership the day you got your license. It was just a given that if you drove a car, you had a AAA membership. But it was also a given that you didn't have a cell phone within your hand 24/7, and you had to rely on other people to help you if you got a flat tire, if you ran out of gas. That's changed. Given that, associations have changed what they offer. What career resources most people find the most valuable through association membership are the connections to knowledgeable experts on a host of topics, careers, and professional services. In my organization, we often say, we build relationships. That's been our unofficial tagline for years. But if COVID taught us anything, it is that we truly do build relationships between those in need and those who can offer the service. This is who and what we are. In today's day and age, that's what most associations do. We can't always guarantee you the cheapest service, but we aim to provide you with the best access to the smartest people. And I don't know about you, but I would prefer to know smart people that help me build my career, plan for retirement, or safeguard my company's technology, rather than the cheap guy who says, I guarantee I can do it, and then you run into the problem and he's gone. So what does that access to a broad segment of people get you? Often it's the difference between what you know and the person next to you applying for the same job knows, meaning that you have an edge over the people seeking the same job advancement that you are. This comes back to the remark I made earlier about getting ahead by who you know, and that Mr. Fuller confirmed. It's truly your network is your net worth. It's sad, but that's how the world works for many people. The who you know is often more important than the what, but the what comes later. The what is when you prove why you should know the people you know. And the what is the knowledge you gain through career development and access to greater educational resources, the very targeted things association membership can offer you. Even better, at a time when many for-profit companies feel little loyalty to their employees, a dedicated association professional can actually find jobs they love and retire from the industry. I won't say you'll retire from the same association, but you can stay in the association world. Most people don't realize the various jobs found in the association world. As I mentioned earlier, when I found out about this job, the job at the Restaurant Association, it was from a friend of mine who works for a news agency here in Columbus. I had no clue that somebody with a degree in journalism could work in the association world. But as you'll note on the screen, those are just a few of the areas where you can find professional development and careers in the association world. The even better thing, you don't have to have a college degree to work in an association. In fact, it's often real-world experience that associations look for, when they hire employees, because they want people who want to help others learn and advance. It's not often related to what degree you have on your wall. I can promise you that if you want to work in an association, you can find a niche for yourself. The 30 programs DACC offers aligns with countless industries here in Ohio, both as practicing hands-on professionals and as association management peers. On this slide, on the previous slide, you will have noted many of the different areas that professionals can find a career. And I'm sure that if you have any questions, Mr. Fuller would be happy to help you find an association for your industry, and I would be as well. Associations connect people no matter their life experiences. I've seen people from agriculture have conversations with people in environmental sciences. You might think these two are opposites, but in reality, they want to protect the soil, the plants, and the animals that rely on them because they ultimately want to help their communities they serve. Another example of this would be working in coalitions that help associations strengthen and support their communities. One that I am particularly proud of is the Coalition to Stop the Spread. This is a group of nonprofit and for-profit organizations across Ohio that are helping people lessen the effects of COVID on their daily lives. And, at a time when we're all living in a new world, when I'm providing this over the computer because we can't sit in the same classroom, it's very important to work with groups like this. So I want to wrap up. I want to make sure you guys have time to, get your questions answered. All I would say is I would encourage you to find an association that aligns with your interests. Most of you will attend most of you can attend very few meetings or events, can attend meetings or events for free. I apologize for all my stumbling there. Thank God for our translator and her patience. Thank you. But I just want to say that many associations even have student rates. OSAE does for $15, and oftentimes you will find people to pay that for you if you want to engage. You can enjoy membership in an association for a year and find out it's really what you want. Before we wrap, let's answer those questions, Jeff.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording here real quick as we get